Hello there and welcome to the video. Today we are talking about compositional aids for photography. Useful for all kinds of photography, but especially large format, where you typically don't have a viewfinder. And this is one of those things I found quite challenging when starting with large format. Luckily, there are some tools to help us out. Starting off, we have the ViewCatcher by the Color Wheel company. A simple but brilliant product that I'm a big fan of. Basically a frame for your back pocket where you can vary the hole size to whatever format you are shooting. And you just put that against your eye to help pre-visualizing compositions. It takes a bit of a practice, but you'll soon get the hang of it. To give you a rough guide, for me, at around 10 centimeters, that's my standard frame. If I double that to around 20 centimeters, that's my long lens, and halving it, putting it right against my nose, that's my wide angle. And that works good enough to help decide if you want to commit to the camera or not. Great little tool. You of course don't need to carry the ViewCatcher. You could make one yourself, or you can use your hands. I use this quite often as well. It's even faster than the ViewCatcher. Not as accurate though, but often good enough to just visualize your frame. I kind of figured out that here, that's about my standard lens, and I like to put my hands like this, but this is the classic pose. The downside with the ViewCatcher and similar solution is that it isn't super precise. To kind of fine-tune composition, I use this, my mobile phone. And I use an Android, and there hasn't been a good app for that for ages, so I just made an overlay for the Open Camera app and put that on to, visualize my different focal lengths. But as of a month or so, there was released an app called the Film Photography Viewfinder app that I bought, and it is excellent, so I've started using that instead. For iOS, there are a couple of options, none I've tried though, as I run an Android phone. As an alternative, you could use your digital camera, and I've done that in the past and it works quite well. However, there is one small little trap to consider. That's focal length equivalences. If you're shooting 4x5, I'm sure you've heard that you should just divide the focal length with 3 to get the full frame equivalent focal length. However, that's just partly true, and that's because there's different aspect ratios. So if you use your digital camera and put that into a 4x5 aspect ratio, you will crop into the sides. So you need to consider that. If you do that, it will work quite good and give you an accurate representation of how the composition will look on 4x5. Another option to consider is an optical viewfinder. Linhof and a few other manufacturers make viewfinders that are supposed to go on top of a view camera. You could just carry these as a separate tool to help you pre-visualize compositions before pulling out the camera. However, they are fairly pricey and I've never bought one, because in the end, I can't see them adding too much more functionality than an app on your phone, especially now that we have a decent app on Android for that. But still, I have hovered over the buy button quite a few times, because it is a nice option if you want to keep in a completely analog workflow. And finally, and this is for large format view cameras, there are some accessories for the ground glass you can buy for some cameras. Like a chimney finder, which I haven't tried, or like on my Technica camera, I have a little shade I can pull out, so I can actually handheld that camera and view the ground glass. And that's actually my workflow. I start with the ViewCatcher or my hands to get a rough idea of compositions, and then sometimes I fine-tune it with my mobile phone. Then I pull out the Technica camera and look through the ground glass handhelding the camera to figure out where to put the tripod. And then I mount the camera and do some additional fine-tunings, and that works quite well for me. I do feel it's important to point out that these tools or aids aren't just for large format photography. I personally used a ViewCatcher long before I got into large format photography, because it's a great tool to train your eye to see in compositions, a skill any photographer could use. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Take care and bye.